launched the age of practical aviation. Daytona Beach, 1910. Barney Oldfield sets world record of 131 miles per hour with motor oil. 1927. Mobil Oil was there with Charles Lindbergh on the first non-stop transatlantic flight to Paris. In the tradition of leadership that has created a worldwide reputation for quality, Mobil Oil now brings you another first. New Mobil Oil Super 10W40, the world's finest 10W40 motor oil. The one unbeatable candidate who has proven himself all over the world, the true champion for 1968. But no breakthrough is accomplished overnight. It takes time and effort. In our laboratories, through careful study and evaluation, we came up with the outstanding candidate. Here at Paulsboro, New Jersey, one of the most modern scientific research and development centers in the world, careful consideration was given automotive needs and public desires in developing an oil to meet today's driving demands. Today's automobile engines are models of power and performance. They're the most powerful engines built in this decade by car manufacturers. Engine design improvements have increased the demands on the oil used for engine lubrication. Oil has to work harder, so the operating conditions demand a top oil. We also have talked to the motoring public, carefully studied their views to find out what they expect and want most in a motor oil. We have compared and tested our candidate's performance against the best competition in the race, and we know that our candidate can stand on his record. Here's how that record stacks up. Today's oil has to keep engines clean from sludge and dirt that forms during driving. It must hold this dirt suspended in the oil so it doesn't form deposits that create engine damage. It must disperse that dirt until it can be drained. After 6,000 miles of driving, here is how Mobil Oil Super 10W40 compared with the leading competitive 10W40 oil. In the rocker rod covers, Mobil Oil Super 10W40 comes clean. But the competition is already failing. Look at the results on the oil screen. Our Super almost perfectly clear and free of deposit. The competition is beginning to clog. Before long, it will be choking the engine. Today's oil must protect against rust and corrosion caused by acids that form during driving. Again, during the most severe driving tests, both in the lab and in the field, Mobil Oil Super 10W40 proved superior. Here are the valve lifters, which are required to carry such heavy loads with today's engines. With our Super, they remain free of corrosion and wear. With the other oil that is supposed to protect, damage and wear are already clearly visible. Let's look at the pistons, where extreme heat and friction can cause baked-on varnish deposits. Super has done its job well. The competing oil has fallen behind again. Let's take a look at the PCV valves, one of the most critical areas of engine protection in a car today. With Mobil Oil Super 10W40, there is little or no clogging. With the other 10W40, its protection isn't half as good. These deposits will eventually clog the valve, and the contaminants forced into the oil can ruin an engine. Mobil Oil Super has clearly outdistanced its best competition, both in cleanliness and engine protection. And what did our survey find that the motorist wanted most? Cleanliness and protection. Driving conditions today demand the most in performance. Today's motorists drive longer at higher speeds on superhighways. In city driving and commuting, the cars must contend with super congestion, short stop and start driving. This type of driving is hardest of all on engines and oil, especially in cold weather. Both on the road and here at the laboratory, comparison tests were made on cold weather starting. In these refrigerated rooms, sophisticated instruments accurately determine the performance ability of Our Super proved its ability as a true 10W with plenty of reserve. This means less battery drain, less fuel waste, with faster cold weather starts. The competitive oil that claims a 10W40 rating actually is no better than a 20W. In long distance and hot weather driving, where oil tends to thin out and to shear, break down because of pressure, our Super maintains its viscosity well above the required rating. It remains stable with a reserve power that competition can't match. This saves on consumption too. Tested in all types of cars, in all types of conditions, our Super averaged 30% less consumption than a premium 10W30 oil. And in some cases, it was as high as 55%. And talk about smooth running and less engine noise. Let's listen to the results of an informal test that was done on cars picked at random from the parking lot. We'll show you on a sound meter. This is a 1962 Ford, before Mobil Oil Super 10W40 was added. Now, 15 minutes after Mobil Oil Super was added. And now, after 200 miles of driving, let's repeat that again. Let's hear that change once more. Out of the many cars we tested, this was a typical result. Once again, in performance, Mobil Oil Super 10W40 surpassed all competition. And what did we find the next most important thing the public wanted? Performance benefits. Mobil Oil Super 10W40 has it all the way. And what was the other motorist concern? An oil that meets car manufacturers' warranty requirements. Well, Mobil Oil Super 10W40 exceeds warranty requirements of all U.S. car builders. And that's a promise. A promise that is displayed proudly. Mobil Oil Super 10W40 is a major breakthrough. That's why we say it's the world's first true 10W40 motor oil that has been proven in performance tests all over the world and fulfills all of the motorist's desires. It keeps the engine clear of sludge and deposits. It protects against rust and corrosion and wear. It keeps PCV systems working properly. It gives faster, easier cold and hot weather starts. It doesn't thin out and break down under extreme driving conditions. It reduces engine noise. It provides up to 30% less consumption. And it exceeds warranty requirements of all U.S. car builders. Our super candidate, Mobil Oil Super 10W40, the motor oil that is right for all cars and all driving conditions, without exception.